You've gotten good at translation. You read one short text and spend 20 minutes deciding what it actually means. You notice the tone in his silence before he's even said anything wrong. You explain his mood to your friends before they can ask. You've started editing your own voice notes, deleting the ones that sound too upset, recording them again until you sound calm enough that he won't pull away. And somewhere in all that careful translating and editing and managing, you've stopped noticing that you're doing the emotional work for two people, while he does the work of none. Maybe you're doing it right now. Maybe you just reread a message for the third time trying to find the version of it that doesn't hurt. If this is you, this story is for you. Hello, I'm Amara, and welcome back to Hidden Wisdom. Today's story is about a woman who believed, for years, that if she loved hard enough, patiently enough, deeply enough, she could finally fix what someone else refused to face in themselves. Let's begin. Her name was Freya. She lived in a quiet town outside Manchester, worked as a physiotherapist, the kind of woman who is excellent at helping bodies heal. Patients trusted her. Colleagues relied on her. She noticed the smallest signs of pain before anyone said a word. But there was one place where all that skill turned against her: her own relationship. She had been with Theo for just over 3 years. Theo was charming when he wanted to be, distant when things got difficult, and quick to disappear into silence whenever a conversation required him to look at himself. He had been raised, he said once, by a father who never apologized for anything. Freya took that sentence and carried it for him. She decided, quietly and without ever discussing it with Theo, that her job was to be patient enough, gentle enough, understanding enough, that eventually his old wounds would heal in the warmth of her love. She read books about attachment styles, not for herself, but to understand him better. She learned the language of his avoidance, so she could translate it into something softer for herself to swallow. When he went quiet for days, she told herself he needed space, not that he was avoiding accountability. When he snapped at her over something small, she asked herself what she had done to trigger it, never once asking what he had done to require an apology. Her sister noticed first. "You explain him more than you talk about your own week," she said one evening. Freya laughed it off, but the words stayed lodged somewhere she didn't want to look. One weekend, feeling worn thin in a way she couldn't quite name, Freya visited her Aunt Della, a retired counselor who now spent her days tending a small allotment on the edge of town. Freya sat on an upturned crate near the vegetable beds and, without meaning to, told her aunt everything. The reading between the lines, the managing of his moods, the quiet exhaustion of loving someone who never met her halfway. Della listened without interrupting. When Freya finished, she reached for a chipped teapot resting on a small table beside them and began pouring tea into Freya's cup. She kept pouring. The tea reached the rim. She kept pouring. It spilled over the edge, ran across the table, and dripped onto the grass. Freya blinked. "Auntie, stop. It's full." Della set the pot down calmly. "So are you," she said, full of his excuses, full of the reasons you've built for him. There's no room left in you to see him clearly, because you've already filled that space with the version of him you're hoping for. Freya sat with that in silence. The following week, Della took her to visit an old friend, a woman named Priscilla, who lived alone in a cottage with an overgrown rose garden. One particular bush near the gate had been pruned and fed and watered for nearly a decade, yet it produced only a handful of thin, half-formed blooms each summer. Priscilla tended it anyway, out of habit more than hope. "I used to believe if I just gave it slightly better soil, slightly more light, it would finally bloom the way the others do," Priscilla said, running a hand along a bare stem. "It took me years to understand. Some things aren't struggling because they're not loved enough. They're struggling because they were never built to need what the others need. No amount of my care was going to change what's happening at the root." Freya looked at the bush, then thought of Theo's silences, his unexamined anger, the father he blamed but never once tried to understand in therapy. She had been tending roots that were never hers to fix. Later that same week, she met a woman named Nadia at a mutual friends gathering, recently out of a long relationship that sounded, in its bones, painfully similar to her own. But Nadia seemed lighter, clearer, like something exhausting had finally been set down. "How did you stop?" Freya asked her. "Stop trying to fix it?" Nadia thought for a moment. "I realized I wasn't in a relationship with him anymore. I was in a relationship with his potential. I kept loving who he could become, and he kept letting me because it meant he never had to become it." The words landed somewhere deep. Freya thought of every argument where she'd been the one to apologize first, just to end the tension. Every excuse she'd rehearsed for her mother. Every time she'd told herself that being patient was the same thing as being loved in return. That night, Theo texted her 3 words, no context, no reference to the silence before it. "You up?" X familiar. Convenient. A door left open only when it suited him. Freya stared at her phone for a long time. Her thumb hovered the way it always did. Some old part of her wanted to reply immediately, to be easy, to be available, to prove once again that she was worth choosing. But a different thought rose beneath the habit. She thought of the overflowing cup. She thought of Priscilla's stubborn, unfixable rose. She thought of Nadia's quiet, hard-won relief. She put the phone down. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt uncomfortable, almost like grief. She missed the version of Theo she had spent 3 years building in her imagination, the one who might still show up if she was patient a little longer. But that version had never actually existed. She had been loving a project, not a partner. In the weeks that followed, Freya didn't transform overnight. There were nights she wanted to reach out, to translate his silence one more time, to manage the discomfort of not knowing. But each time, she asked herself Nadia's question. Am I loving him? Or am I loving what he could become if I just try harder? Slowly, the answer stopped being about Theo and started being about the exhausting, invisible job she had given herself without ever being asked to take it. Months later, Freya returned to her aunt's allotment. The teapot sat quietly on the table, and this time, Della poured her tea and stopped exactly at the rim. "You emptied some of it out," Della said, nodding toward her. "I think I finally understood," Freya replied. "I can't pour more of myself into someone who is never going to meet me at the level I was pouring." She wasn't in a new relationship. She hadn't been magically healed. But for the first time in years, she wasn't rereading messages for hidden meaning. She wasn't rehearsing his excuses to people who loved her. She was simply, quietly, present with her own life again. If you've spent months or years believing that loving him harder, understanding him deeper, being patient longer, would finally make him do the work he's never once done on his own, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not failing at love. You have simply been trying to fill a cup that was already full of his own excuses, leaving no room for the truth to reach you. You cannot therapize someone into healing. You cannot love someone into accountability. That work was never yours to carry, no matter how capable you are of carrying things. I want to be honest with you. There was a season in my own life when I confused effort with intimacy. I thought if I just understood someone deeply enough, explained their behavior patiently enough, I could love them into becoming someone they hadn't yet chosen to become. It took me a long time to understand that real love doesn't require you to do both people's healing. It only asks you to show up as yourself and let the other person decide, on their own, whether they will do the same. So today, ask yourself the question that changed everything for Freya. Not, how can I love him harder? But, am I loving who he is or who I hope he'll become if I just keep pouring? That question isn't an accusation. It's an invitation back to yourself, back to the woman who deserves a love that doesn't require her to do all the fixing alone. If this story found you at the right time, tell me in the comments, what is one thing you're finally ready to stop trying to fix that was never yours to fix? I read every single one. If this gave you even a little clarity, press like. It helps this reach another woman who needs to hear it tonight. Share it with someone who keeps loving someone harder than that person loves themselves. And if you're new here, subscribe to Hidden Wisdom. Every week, we turn timeless wisdom into stories that help women build lives and love they don't have to carry alone. Until next time, stop refilling a cup that's already full. Save some of that love for yourself. You've been needing it this whole time.